In this video, we will understand the type of errors that could occur in a hypothesis test. Let's look at this table. Now, in this table, we have a possibility for a true null hypothesis, a false null hypothesis, decision making related to H0. It could be accepted, it could be rejected. Now, let me start with this one. If H0 is true and it is accepted, is this a correct decision? The answer is yes, it's a correct decision. What if H0 is false and H0 is rejected? Is this a correct decision? Yes, this is also a correct decision. What about the possibility that H0 is true, but we are making an error in rejecting H0? That means it's an incorrect decision. Similarly, what about H0 is false? Again, we are making an error in accepting something that's not true. Again, this is a wrong decision. Now, if H0 is true and H0 is rejected, we call this type 1 error. And if H0 is false, but we are making a mistake of accepting it, this is called a type 2 error. So let me state it again. Type 1 error, reject H0 when H0 is true. Type 2 error, accept H0 when H0 is false. I have written it down over here. Definition of type 1 error, reject H0 when H0 is true. Type 2 error, accept H0 when H0 is false. The exact opposite. So now, in the upcoming videos, we will be calculating the probability of type 1 and type 2 error, and we will also be explaining in the context of the question, what do we mean by type 1 and type 2 error. Now let's look at the data that's given over here. H0 mu is 5000. H1 mu is greater than 5000. The daily sales of a soft drink is 5000 units. The company is interested in increasing the sales. That is why the alternative hypothesis has a greater sign. An ad campaign is launched. Now explain in the context of this question, what do we mean by type 1 error? What do we mean by type 2 error? So let's start with type 1 error. Type 1 error, the definition states reject H0 when H0 is true. Now, if H0 is true, that means the value of mean is 5000. But we are rejecting H0. In other words, we are accepting H1. Yes, this is an error. We are accepting the fact that the mean has increased from 5000. Now let's join the knowledge that we have from both the statements based upon the definition of type 1 error. So we will write that even though the reality is the sales is still 5000 units, someone in the company who is in charge of all of this operation is wrongly concluding that it has increased. This is not true. This is an error. So that is what is happening with type 1 error. Even though the sales is still 5000, the person in charge, the manager or the supervisor is wrongly concluding that it has increased. What is the penalty of this error? The penalty is the ad campaign is not successful because the sales have not increased in reality and they would be spending money on something which is not giving them profit. That means it's a loss for them. So the ad campaign is costing money and nothing is gained out of it. So that is the penalty of type 1 error. Now, let me explain in the context of the question, what do we mean by type 2 error? First of all, the definition, that is except H0 when H0 is false. When H0 is false, by default H1 is true, which means that the sales of drink have actually increased. But what are we accepting? We are accepting the fact that the value of mu is still 5,000. Now let's join the two statements. What is the reality? The sales have increased. So let's write it from the manager's perspective. The manager is wrongly concluding that the sales are still the same, or the sales have not increased, which in fact is not true. Which is not true. That means the manager is making a mistake. What is the penalty of this error? The penalty is that even though the ad campaign was successful, it was increasing the sales, the manager is wrongly concluding that it has not increased. That means there is a possibility that they might stop this ad campaign, and whatever success that they have achieved in sales might go down. The sales will drop. So that is how the explanation of type 1 and type 2 is done in the context of this question. Now remember, type 1 is related with critical or the rejection region, because we reject H0 when H0 is true. So that is type 1 error. Type 2 error is the exact opposite. It is related with the acceptance region, because we are accepting H0 even though H0 is false. Since H0 is false, a new value of H1 will be given. If it's about normal distribution, a new value of mu will be given. If it's about binomial probability distribution, it will be about probability of success, a new value will be given. And if it's about Poisson distribution, a new value of lambda, the mean number of occurrences, will be given. So remember this thing, that if the critical region is to the right, acceptance region will be to the left. CR is the symbol for critical region, AR is the symbol for acceptance region. Similarly, if the critical region is to the left of a certain value, then acceptance region will be to the right. And maybe we are dealing with a two-tailed test in which the critical region is on the extreme right and on the extreme left based upon the significance level. Therefore, the acceptance region will be in the middle. In the upcoming videos, we will be solving questions related to normal distribution, binomial probability distribution, Poisson probability distribution, and normal approximation to binomial. Similarly, we'll be doing questions related to normal approximation to Poisson. Not only we will be calculating the probability of type 1 error or the probability of type 2 error, we will also be doing the explanation in the context of the question.